Hey, and welcome back to the Juice Bar. Today we're going to talk about duplicates. And over the past couple weeks, I've had several client accounts where we've had duplicates, duplicate companies, duplicate contacts, and I'm seeing a common thread here, our common trend that I just wanted to highlight and call out. So before we dive into what's happening, I want to just revisit why it matters that we keep our data clean. So having clean data allows us to build better relationships through more targeted communications, customized offers. Everything that shows up in your user's inbox is going to be something that matters and is meaningful to them. It gives us better forecasting and all kinds of better data. We can see what's working. We can craft offers based on what's working. And we can streamline and scale. So we can have automations and things that happen automatically. We can increase the ROI because our contacts we're only talking to good quality contacts. And we can stay compliant and gain legal protection when we are following a system and an automation that allows us to say, every time we do X, we do this. And we can go back and we can track it, we can sort on it. So this is why it matters. Now, some of the key steps is first, we want to keeping our data clean is building a process. So we want to define who's a poor fit and who's a best fit, whether it's the industries, whether it's the profitability and return on investment. At the bottom line is we want to know who we want to talk to. The second thing we want to know is what are the stages that they follow along the process? And it could be deal stages. It could be life cycle stages. It could be a combination. These are just some common examples. It could be anything you want. But as long as we understand how your people move through your funnels and move through their experience and their journey of working with you. So once we've done that, we want to identify who's unengaged or who are the people that should just not be included, right? So we've defined them, and now we're going to identify them based on the funnel process that we've outlined. And then once we have this system, we want to build a cadence for review and audits. So the pro tip, continually review and refine. Actually, I misspoke. So we want to build the cadence for review and audits. And what that means is we understand who we want and we have systems, but we also need to check in on those systems on a regular basis. So whether it's monthly, it's quarterly, it's biannually. I wouldn't recommend a cadence that is more than biannually, especially if you're pivoting or you're shifting or you're evolving your systems and your processes. But beyond that, the pro tip is we do want to continually review and refine. So you might not be in a perfect starting place right now. However, we will start and then we review. 3 months down the road, we say, oh, I know more. I can make this data and this algorithm better, right? So it's continually reviewing and refining. And it might be that you review and refine because market data has changed, the competitive market has changed, technology has changed, your product offerings have changed, and now you need to know different things. So it's a continual process, as anything in revenue ops is. And then some best practices, and this is where I want to kind of dive into what was happening in some of my client accounts. So one thing that I was seeing, so here we are inside my demo account, and I can show you, right, this dummy data. So in this particular instance, you can see that there's 2 companies, both called Ford LLC. And this other company. So the important thing to know here is that for HubSpot, website domain in terms of companies is your ride or die property. And for contacts, it's your email address. And HubSpot will connect you based on the domain and the email address. So if a company's domain and their email address align, then that contact will automatically show up here as an associated contact in the account. And so what I've been seeing is the duplicates are because there isn't an email address. There isn't a company domain. And when that happens, HubSpot doesn't know to connect the two pieces of data together. And so it creates a new record. Similar to what you see here, 2 accounts, 2 companies. However, they have a slightly different email address. So that is one of the best practices, is domain name is the one that matches your emails, and that is without the www. So in this particular case, this one will automatically pair up, as you can see that it has done, with the contacts who share an email. And okay, well, actually, I say it's done this, but this is because it's a demo account, it's slightly different system. But you can see that that's what happens, is it will match the email up to the domain, whereas in this instance, the www was included and it therefore didn't recognize or connect it to the associated contacts. So that is the thing that I've been seeing a lot. And there are some strategies that you can use. So one of the challenges we often run into is when a company uses, or an individual uses a Gmail account. So that's another great example, is you might see 500 contacts all associated with a company called Google, because it's associating that they're using the Gmail email domain address. So for that, I would recommend, if you see that a lot, I would recommend to set up your settings that allows you, and now I should have so the way that we can block your free email domains is when you go to a form. So here, right, I went to a form and then editing the form, and you go to settings here and submission settings. So the way that you can block that is you could just require, you could either type in, and here you can actually type in a competitor. So it could be, I'm going to block www competitor, did I spell that right? .com, and anyone in that domain will be blocked. It's a made-up domain though, so it's not going to work. But you can also turn this on here to block your free email provider. So that will force people to provide their business email address. So that is another way to work around the duplicates that are happening. But typically when a contact comes in, it's going to come in through a form. Now, if it doesn't come in through a form, then this is probably you're uploading it as a import, and that's another discussion. And I would say we could talk about that. Reach out to me if you want to talk about how to resolve that. But for right now, the key things to keep in mind are you always want to include a domain name. You want to include the basic domain name, which is not with the www. It is simply domain.com. You want to always include the email address or website domain. You want to create alerts, set benchmarks to trigger warnings. I've dropped here my link if you'd like to schedule a conversation.